Hey everyone, it's Kat. It's been about 1 month and 1 week since I've started using my 2025 journal setup. And I've been seeing a few videos on YouTube of people giving updates to their how their system's going, and so I thought I'd do the same. It's been mainly going good, so TLDR, nothing big has changed, and I've been feeling quite happy in my planners overall. But let me just go into some of the successes and I guess failures so far in this past month and a week. So let me dive into my pocket planner first. It is essentially the SterlingInk passport size vertical weekly, and I've been finding that the additional pages in the beginning where I can set up my goals and then also have quarterly focuses with 3 months on a page. I've been finding these really excellent in sort of planning and making intentions for the month or the quarter. And I've never really used or done something like this beforehand. I've only really used planners solely for this weekly setup in the past. And so, for example, if I zoom you guys in here, so for example, I have priorities for this quarter, which is to book Europe flights and accommodation for my Europe trip upcoming, kickstart my Chinese learning habit. And then in January, in red text here, I've written a bit of a wrap up of how my goals have been doing. So on the page previously, or 2 pages previously, I have some goals about having a better mindset, learning Chinese, other things, and I've just essentially written them down here. So be more positive, sort of a tick. I've started to do film photography, and that's been really fun and interesting to document like little moments in my life and appreciate them more. So that's a bit of a step forward. Learn 14 new Chinese words, that's ticked. Read more books, ticked. Gratitude journaling and spending tracker. So these are the 2 things that I haven't been as good with keeping up with, and things that I would consider sort of a failure for this month in terms of this planner. So at the back of my pocket planner, I've sort of go through the setup of how I use this in a previous video, but essentially at the back I have this low buy guide where I'm trying to spend less money this year, and well, that's going interestingly. And what I've been doing is writing down an itemized list of things that I've been spending on, which are discretionary expenses. So I don't put rent and petrol and groceries and things like that here. And then what I should be doing is writing down each transaction and then going to the front here in this yearly tracker section and then writing the total per day. So as you can see, I stopped on January 24th. When I buy things, I don't tend to consult this notebook. I tend to come to this notebook at the end of the day or when someone tries to make a plan, and I come to the monthly section to write it down. I don't have a habit yet of every time I make a purchase of coming here to this notebook to log it down. And so things tend to pile up. I tend to have a whole bunch of transactions I need to put in. And then at that point, I've already spent the money. So I don't feel like there's necessarily a need to write it down anymore because what's done is done, which is not the point of tracking my expenses, I know, but that's just sort of the mentality I have. And especially because I have to flip back and forth, I feel like that just adds an extra layer of just friction to wanting to actually track this. So I'm not too sure how I'll be doing or tracking my low buy going forward. I'm thinking of maybe potentially moving completely digitally onto my mobile phone where it already automatically tracks some of my transactions and automatically categorizes them into, restaurants or cafes or takeout and gifts, things like that. So we shall see. The other thing that I haven't been as good at in keeping up is my gratitude journal. So this I want to keep going with. I don't want to change this. I think this is just a matter of making it a habit. So I recently learned this thing called habit stacking, and it's been really helpful. So I'm thinking if I can habit stack gratitude journaling in the morning, and I've already successfully made a couple of other things into a habit. So putting on sunscreen every day in the morning, having a caffeine drink while doing my stretching routine, that's already set. So if I can just work this in, I'm pretty sure I can be more consistent with my gratitude journaling. And I do feel like this can be really useful in terms of helping me get towards one of my goals in the new year, which is to have a more positive mindset. So there's that. In terms of how I'm using the planner week on week and day to day, I already know that the vertical weekly system really works well for me, so that I can visually time block things out for myself. And especially when things start to get busy, I tend to get overwhelmed if I don't have downtime for myself. And so, for example, here, everything in green is my downtime. And I've started to gym more regularly with my friends. I still have bouldering at night. I have, meetings to meet up and plan some of the international trips that I'll be going on. And so I can tell that this week I don't have that much downtime for myself. And I have a couple hours at the end sometimes of the day where it's just shower and then jump into bed. And if I don't have that time to just sort of be spent rotting, even if it's just doom scrolling, I feel like I need that to sort of decompress. And if a couple weeks go by where I don't have that time, I start to feel very frazzled. So that's how I've been using this. I have been drawing these lines at 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., which denotes my work hours. So generally nothing really happens in these times, and then all my plans and things are outside of there. And yeah, in comparison to my last year's weekly planner, this year's one is much more minimalistic, much less colors. And I think it's just the vibe of this SterlingInk notebook. It's so minimal and so simple that I don't feel like drawing all these red and blue and green lines and messing it up too much, because it's so nice. And one other thing I really enjoy about this SterlingInk planner is that the times go from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. And for me, that's perfect. I don't need times outside of this, because realistically, I'm not doing anything at 3 a.m. in the morning. In comparison to this, I used the Hobonichi weekly supplement last year, and that had a lot more time options. And I just found that it visually was misleading, because it would seem like I would only be busy for like 2 boxes out of the whole page. But in reality, that was like, 40% of my waking hours. So yeah, I really enjoy this notebook. I am going to have a think about how I can get back onto my spending tracking and also get back onto my gratitude journaling. But in terms of everything else that I use this for, my yearly intentions, monthly intentions, my weekly time blocking and events planning, this has been working really well for those. So yeah, that's the TLDR on that one. Now, moving on to my memory keeper. Oh, actually, I should have introduced this first. This is looking a little different. I know. I've changed the cover for my memory keeper. So this cover is actually my very first leather notebook ever. And it holds a lot of memories for me. I got it when I was 12 years old, I think, 11 or 12. And I had just moved to a new suburb and didn't have any friends there. Moved into high school, which was also a blank slate for me, like also knew no one there. And what was a nice constant for me at that time was these monthly Saturday morning fairs that they would hold at the train station that I lived at. It was a really small fair now that I think about it, but for me, even that little bit of excitement was just such a major event every month. One of the stores there was this old guy. Okay, he wasn't that old. He was like 40, 50 years old. He had a big wispy beard, reddish beard, and a cowboy hat, and these interesting like crocodile teeth necklace. And he had a whole store of these leather notebooks that he made himself. Yeah, that store held so much magic for me. And I remember looking closely at every single one of his notebooks to find the perfect one. which I determined was this one. Because he made these notebooks himself, there would be some imperfections where maybe the middle emblem was slightly off center, maybe these were off center, maybe the spine wasn't completely pressed in all the way. So I very carefully went through everything and selected this notebook, which I used for a couple of years. And I used to have these watercolor paper ring notebooks that I'd put inside. But right now I've put in my Hobonichi A6 notebook, and it's a little small in comparison to the cover. I think because he made these to fit that ring at the top. So if you look from the top, there is some additional space between the notebook and the end of the cover. And this is also a really old notebook, so you can see that the black parts are starting to drop. I don't know what these are called. It's just starting to have some wear and tear, I guess. So anyway, let me really quickly run through how my memory keeping has been going. And you've all seen these spreads before. I do have a couple of new ones, which I'm really proud of. I think overall, I am really improving in my memory keeping. I'm able to have a better idea of, I guess, white space and what looks good on a page, and starting to get a bit better at layering things, as you can see here. There's still a couple of pages blank where I really had nothing to say. So for example, on this day I worked and then gymmed, and yeah, nothing interesting there. This was a nice day where I hosted a birthday party at my place, and I did a little Cat's Bakery and had DIY banh mi sandwiches. So that was really nice. And this was the day that I filmed the video, how notebooks help me organize my mind and develop my identity. It was a pretty special video for me, so that's why I stuck these things here. This was Chinese New Year, and I drew this sesame tangyuan in crayon. I had bouldering this day, so just a simple photo of me bouldering. This Friday, I went out with my friends to a Chinese New Year market. And this day I gymmed, and I was on my phone a lot that day. So that's why I decided to draw these, like a phone and then a dumbbell to sort of denote that this is pretty much what was taking over my mind at the time. Oh, and this day I went hiking with my friends in the Blue Mountains, and it was so beautiful. And I'm really proud of this spread. Like when I mentioned layering, this is what I mean. I feel like I'm getting better at understanding how things should be laid out in a way that's balanced on the page. There's still white space, and I'm getting better at using washi tape, although I still feel sometimes when I put something like one of these strips down, it feels out of place, and I don't know if it looks better with or without it. So this day I received a gift from my friends, which I stuck the packaging in. This day I had a lot to say because work has been a bit up and down. And then I still need to fill out Thursday, Friday, and today, Saturday. So that's how my memory keeper's been going. I've been really surprised at myself at how I've managed to keep this up. And there's already been some spreads in here that I really love and hold dear to my heart. And it really reminds me of the times that I spent with my friends. They generally tend to fall on Fridays and Saturdays and the weekends. And then during the week, it tends to be blank pages or emptier pages like this. So I am going to have to think about how to fill these up a bit more. Although there's no pressure. It's 365 days. And not having something to say or something to include for every single day is really not that bad. So yeah, that's a almost kind of monthly recap of how my journals have been going so far. My plan has been working well. My memory keep I've been keeping up with that. The only thing that I will say is I feel like I am missing a journal, like a dedicated space to really write my thoughts. I was originally using my memory keeper as a journal, so If you go back into my earlier entries, I had a lot to say every day. But I don't know, as I've been using this memory keeper more and more for these nice collages and photos and drawings, it feels less, like in my mind, this notebook is becoming less of a space where I can write down long entries like this one, because I do feel like it breaks up the otherwise aesthetic nature of this notebook. And I'm coming to see this notebook more as a creative outlet, and dumping my thoughts and anxieties in here just doesn't feel right. Since I'm on a low buy this year, I don't want to spend money to buy another leather notebook. I really do like field notes, and when I had that expedition journal experiment last year, I really enjoyed that. So I would like to journal again in something that's this size, a pocket notebook, which I just don't have a pocket notebook cover, but I do have some ideas on that. I have some big plans on potentially making myself my own pocket-sized leather notebook. I'm waiting on some items from Amazon to come so that I can get started. I don't have any like leather working things. I think I need an awl, AWL, sewing needles and nylon bonded thread is what I'm hearing online. So anyway, that's coming up. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this casual chatty video. It's just an update on how things have been going, and I hope your notebooks have been doing well for you too. Thanks for watching. Bye.